You're watching Cougar Tracks Game Day, powered by Bank of American Fork.
Welcome on into Cougar Tracks Game Day. Alex Kirry and Dave Noriega right here with you. And 20-3 win for BYU at Cincinnati. Big win for BYU because you got to get to 6 at least. And really, I think a lot of fans are just going, hey, on that track to win out the rest of the season, including your bowl game, it's a good start. 20-3. And for some reason, Dave, I still kept getting what an ugly win. I'm not going to allow the words ugly win unless it was like
horrifying?
7. No, unless
terrifying.
It was like,
I mean, one of those
look, come on.
Too much candy inducing, miserable.
The defense was amazing.
You know defense.
The defense was amazing.
Defense is boring.
All right. So, well, yeah, if they only allowed the other team to score 3 points than the other team, that was an ugly game by Tommy Tuberville and his team. But BYU gets the win, and we have to look at how we did prediction-wise starting off. Now, BYU's 5-4 now. They win by 17 points. Let's start off with the 50-50 that you gave me.
Taysom hasn't thrown an interception, or he's only thrown one interception in 4 games.
Right.
Would he have an interception today?
And I said an astounding, hey, you know what? Those DBs are really fast. What I didn't account for was Taysom was throwing really terribly, especially terribly today, and that combination with that ended up with the really bad pick.
That pick was so bad.
He did have an interception.
It was like 25 feet short.
But what was worse, that interception or when he underthrew
Jonah Trinneman on the flea flicker?
When you throw a flea flicker, the whole thing is we got behind them, guys. We can throw over their heads by 20 yards, and it'll be an easy touchdown. Trinneman had to dive forward toward his own team to make the completion.
And he was, like 6 or 7 yards past the deepest defender?
And Taysom had 130 yards passing on the day, which means, if my math serves me, Dave, that means that of his 130 yards, the 43 from that flea flicker, it would be an 87.
14 completions for 87 yards.
Okay. 14 completions for 87 yards. But he did end up with 130 yards.
What we keep seeing from Taysom is he just pumps. And he doesn't go with his gut. And I think it's just the years and years and years that had played under Bronco Mendenhall where turnovers were so critical. He's a game manager. And he's like, you know what? I'm just going to trust in my legs. If we go into 3rd and long or 3rd and short, 3rd and whatever, it doesn't matter. Because when he runs on 3rd down, he makes it every time. I think he was 4 for 4 or 5 for 5 in the game.
Get mad. Well, and their third down completion, 10 for 16 on the day. And then on the flip side, they held Cincinnati on 3rd down like every time, it seemed like. So the defense, again, coming through. But you get grumpy at Taysom, and then at the same time, he gets you first downs with his legs and even touchdowns with his legs. So, Dave, I'm going to go ahead and say on that one, where did it end up? Oh, yeah, he did throw a pick. I got it exactly right. Okay, so the 50-50 that...
All right, my question was, while you pull up the stats on the computer
here, it's a computer.
Would Tanner Hill and Taysom Mangum... would they play together?
Boy, okay, so the whole game during the broadcast, all I kept getting from fans was, why is Taysom still in the game? And look, I have no answer for you, and I'm not going to be the one who's going to say, oh, they should have done it. But I did give Dave the opportunity to say whether or not Tanner was going to get 10-plus snaps in the game.
How'd it go? I gave a big old nope. Did not think he'd get into the game.
And not only did he not have a snap in the game, he didn't even have, like, garbage snap or anything.
No, because you won 20-3.
At one point, so he starts warming up on the sideline, and I was like, okay, second half, bro, nothing. So there you go.
All right,
Tanner still isn't getting in the game these days, y'all.
even in a 20-3 blowout. Cincinnati completed only one pass last week.
Okay.
In the second half, they were 1 for 6 in the second half. Gunnar Kiel, speaking of him, how many completions and passing yards would Gunnar Kiel have?
Yeah, I guess before the game he would have, and it looked like he was going to go this direction because the secondary still looked suspect, at least at the very beginning of the game. Gunnar Kiel, I said, would have 265 yards passing. He had 199 yards passing. I said he would have 23 completions. He had 19. So 4 off on the completions and about 66 yards off on the passing. It ended up being pretty decent because at first I was going, they are letting guys behind them. It was a soft zone between the linebackers and the secondary, and I went, they're going to eat this thing up. Gunnar Kiel, you talk about a guy who's gone backward. You think BYU fans are grumpy about the way their quarterback situation has gone a little bit? Their team won 20-3 today, and Gunnar Kiel has forgotten how to be a quarterback for Cincinnati. So there could be that.
He'd been one of the good ones. He
Yeah.
was a really, really good player. He was playing starting 3 years ago, and now he just can't do anything.
Well, and for his career, this is a guy who has thrown a ton of touchdowns and really for a ton of yards, and he hasn't been doing it. All right.
So he did okay, not great.
Yeah. Taysom, the question that I had for you is not having to do with Taysom Hill, but he ended up contributing at least to the rushing side for BYU. I asked you, because Cincinnati has been so poor on the rushing game themselves, if they could eclipse 100 yards or maybe how many yards on the ground they would have against this BYU defense. At first, they were taking chunks away, and I was going, what is going on here? Because this Cincinnati team doesn't run the ball well. I asked you to guess, and I thought you were crazy.
And I thought with the injuries to the interior part of the defensive line, I thought BYU was going to struggle a little bit. And early on in the game, they really did. Tion Green had 82 yards in the game, but because Gunnar Kiel got sacked a couple times, he was I think he was minus 16 for the game.
So that took away from your almost perfect prediction.
I said
then?
125 yards, and had Gunnar Kiel not been sacked a couple times for his minus 16.
See, again, so you start cheering against the BYU defense?
Yeah,
hey, man, I wish you guys wouldn't have sacked him so many times.
The whole thing is sacks should not count against rushing yardage. It's just the stupidest thing that college does. Do they do it in the NFL?
No
I can't
idea.
remember. I don't think so. But the fact is, they ran for 96 yards, basically 100. I was 25 yards off, so
you were 30 yards off.
Basically nailed it.
All right, so
as usual,
a lot of rounding up.
So I'm 2 for 2.
A lot of rounding
nailing
up.
my grades so far.
A lot of rounding up.
You were 66 yards off, and you think you're good. You're like,
passing.
Dude, I was 66 yards off in passing.
Okay, you had a way easier.
BYU always has more rushing yards than passing yard. You're 66 yards off. I am 29 yards off. I hit a home run.
Is he done yet?
I'm like the Cubs in the World Series, man. I dominated this one.
And you hate the Cubs, and I hate you officially right now because you are doing this weird.
That's why I have to.
This revisionist history will not stand. Okay, now listen. I will say this. I had a much more difficult row to hoe on this. I had to pick his completions and his yards. You were just like, hey, how many yards are they going to run for?
It's a good thing because you nailed the completions.
All right.
And just died on the passing yardage. So you ended up with probably a C.
Speaking of dying, thanks for the grade suggestions, too. Don't listen, schoolmaster, to that. So on the scores, I picked BYU 31-10. And if they would have punched in on that last drive on the touchdown, I thought, okay, I'll be exactly right on the points.
So had Cincinnati scored more points,
and BYU
would have scored 11 more points,
no,
and
not
you would
11.
have nailed it.
Well,
so BYU scored 11 more,
and if Cincinnati
scored a touchdown.
So I had it. So I said 31-10. It ended up being 20-3. Dave, what was your pick on the points?
Well, the point spread I nailed.
Oh no, you did not.
I said 42-28.
Okay, which is not nailing it.
Which is what?
Yeah,
do your quick math. 16 points.
No. That's a 14 point. Those are 2 touchdowns, 14 points. You were 3 points off to my 4 points off. It's the same. We both get probably an A and then maybe like an A minus over here because your points.
I'm fine with that.
No, the points are so bad. I'm gonna go B plus with this guy. Again, just a suggestion.
The points were totally off. The points were totally off, I admit. And my math that I just tried to do in my head,
was such
it
garbage.
was not tough math.
Don't you know that?
No, it's not tough math.
In my mind,
you have to understand, I'm not doing great right now. I'm on all the NyQuil. So all the NyQuil that you can take, I'm on it. So leave me alone on my 2 touchdowns. The fact is they won by 17. I said it would be a 14-point spread. My 14-point spread was nails.
Anyway, he said BYU would score 42 points. He said that Cincinnati would score 25 more points than they did. All right, so there are predictions.
My over-under is indefensible.
another week of predictions. The bottom line is BYU wins.
Surprisingly, we did very well.
Yeah, BYU wins this week, 17-point win, and they're look, that's as much as you can ask for a BYU team who has been it's one of the only times they've been able to say, okay, we're not going to the last drive of the game.
Yeah.
So that's comfortable.
A 17-point blowout.
Yeah.
At 20-3.
I think
the defense was amazing. Jamal Williams, 25 carries for 92 yards, but he got dinged up. He got hurt. Oh, another thing, Squally Canada walked off the sidelines
with the hand,
holding his wrist.
Yeah.
Hand injury. I mean, that's pretty scary.
All right, so that'll do it for us on Cougar Tracks Game Day. BYU versus Southern Utah next week. FCS opponent at Provo. So BYU does not go on the road at all the rest of the year. 3 more home games to wrap up the regular season. That wraps it up for us. For Dave Noriega, I'm Alex Kirry. The Prediction Machines will be back again next week.
Cougar Tracks Game Day is powered by Bank of American Fork. Big city banking, small town service.